Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Bravo Confidential. I couldn't think of a better time to launch this commentary channel, especially since we're a little over halfway through season 18 of The Real Housewives of Orange County, and I just had to weigh in on all the drama unfolding so far. We are on the verge of the annual overseas trip, and these trips are typically my favorite. The most drama and progress happens when the ladies are somewhat stranded together. Usually, by the end of it, they've gone through it, but they've bonded in a way that we can look back on with some nostalgia and reference those fun times until it all falls apart again. Episode 12 mostly focused on Katie's first big get together with all the couples, minus Heather and Terry, as he was recovering from his nose surgery, and Alexis and John Jansen. By the way, I just wanted to say I've really been enjoying Katie's addition to the cast. Despite her initial feud with Heather over those tired paparazzi rumors, Katie's home life package has been so refreshing, and her husband Matt is kind of a looker. At Katie's dinner party, the conversation covered everything, including Emily's feelings toward Heather after the fashion show, Shannon's legal dispute with John Jansen, and the drama involving Alexis. And we also see Tamara and Eddie's feud with Ryan and Jen come to a head. This was the first time Eddie and Ryan were in the same room since Ryan went on a podcast trashing Tamara and Eddie as well as their business. Now, I really don't want to get too deep into that just because it's honestly a little too messy for me, but I will talk about the dynamics at the dinner party. Right off the bat, Ryan gives me the ick, whether it's in Jen's home life package or just his presence within the group. Something about him just feels off. He seems to manipulate Jen so easily, and she just kind of falls for it. And this makes their chemistry feel forced. Can anybody else see this, or is it just me? Eddie walked into this dinner knowing Tamara was already on edge, but I really admired that despite Eddie's initial hostility towards Ryan, he tried to rein Tamara in once she started going too far. Tamara addressed the elephant in the room and said that it was a shitty move to bring up her children, her business, and her husband. And to his defense, Ryan stood his ground. Tamara, true to form, felt cornered and started swinging, verbally, of course. She brought up the FBI raid, and that's when Jen started to snap back. But Jen's defense of Ryan just felt odd and disjointed. It didn't really seem genuine. Like, big ups to her for defending her man, but I also just like get major Space Cadet vibes from her as of late, and I think it's just me noticing the red flags in their relationship, and I kind of just want to give her a big hug and tell her to run far away. Ryan's explanation of the FBI raid is also really suspect. His story about his friend Matt, who fell on hard times, just doesn't sit right with me, especially considering my favorite podcast, The Bravo Docket, has already covered the lawsuit, and it is a lot deeper than what he's portraying for the cameras. Perhaps the best part of the dinner party was Emily, true to her tagline this season, putting on her lawyer hat and asking questions for fun. It almost seems like she wasn't buying it either, which makes me feel validated in my opinion of Ryan. By the end of the night, Eddie and Ryan managed to patch things up, while Tamara stormed out in her signature fashion. And despite Tamara's strong feelings, that feud seems to be pretty much wrapped up, and we're moving into episode 13 with the groundwork laid for the high tea party. Now, Heather and Emily are still on the outs over the fashion show, but of course, Heather makes her grand entrance at the birthday party and immediately tries to pull Emily aside for a conversation. I'll admit, I am an Emily supporter through and through, but this doesn't mean that she's perfect. Her outbursts can be a little bit much, but her vulnerability, especially regarding the body shaming and just her general love for her family, is something that really wins me over every single time. When Heather initially tried to pull Emily away from the table, Emily declined. And this is a refreshing change of pace from Gina's eagerness to please. Speaking of Gina, I'm glad she's waking up to Heather's mind games. Although their relationship isn't on the best place right now, I'm curious to see how things shift on the girls' trip. It could be good for them or it could be disastrous. Either way, I'm glad that Gina's kind of getting a mind of her own. Now, during high tea, Shannon announces a group trip to London. And let me just say, the past two episodes have really shown Shannon in a good light, despite everything surrounding her with the lawsuit and just the general hostility towards Alexis in general. Yes, there was a butt dial incident with her screaming and crying in typical Shannon fashion, but producers have actually taken care to show her practicing self care, shopping with Katie and Heather, and of course, pulling off another fun costume surprise. That's the Shannon we love, and I'm really happy to see her rally and pull through this lawsuit disaster without becoming a complete mess like she typically does. I'm not sure if that's just a production or editing trick, but either way, I'm really happy to see her perk up a little bit. But let's talk about the olive branch, or the lack thereof. Alexis claimed that her plant delivery was a last ditch effort for peace, but wasn't she acting loony at the game night at Ryan and Jen's house because she knew the lawsuit was going to be leaked to the press? From the start of this season, she's done nothing but provoke Shannon, telling her, "Face it, I stole your boyfriend," and then doubling down on John Jansen's threat to blackmail her and ruin her reputation. And now Alexis has the audacity to send a plant to Shannon on her birthday as a peace offering. In my opinion, she hasn't done anything to make peace with Shannon. She did one manipulative thing and then gets upset when it backfires on her. Thankfully, Shannon was one step ahead, already drafting a message to Alexis to let her know that she is not invited to London. And honestly, most of the women agree that this is the right call. Even Jen and Katie tried to break the news to Alexis gently, and she kicked them out of her house. Like, I get it. No one likes to be left out, but her reaction was so over the top. Like, at least let them know that you need some space instead of just throwing them out like that. It just puts everybody in a weird mood and sets a weird vibe for your friendship going forward. And this brings me to the point that I think that Alexis's presence on the trip wouldn't have made for good TV. Between her and Shannon's drama with John Jansen and her overall annoying behavior, it just feels like we've tried Alexis twice now on The Real Housewives of OC, and it just doesn't work out. And honestly, I'm a little bit fatigued. So, where do we go from here? Could Shannon and Tamara be heading for another clash? Tamara's sudden loyalty to Alexis kind of feels like a betrayal to me. I get that she wanted to distance herself from the Trace Amigas following the DUI, but aligning with Alexis is a choice that I personally would not make. If it were me, I would just simply stay neutral. But I guess that's why Tamara gets paid to stir the pot and I get to comment from my couch. So, what do you think about the upcoming girls' trip, and how did you feel about John Jansen appearing in that interview with Alexis? Did it make you cringe as much as I did? I hope you enjoyed this video. This is my first one. If you have any comments or any suggestions, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment, and I really appreciate you taking a chance on this video and watching till the end. I can't wait to see you in the next episode.